But it might be too high. Is it better? Okay.
Hola, hola, hola. Check, 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 check.
Checking, 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 checking.
Check, check, check.
Okay, dear audience, so let's warmly welcome our dear teachers, Venerable Gyelse, Tim Lowenhaupt, and Aldo Alzapalo. And they will guide us into Classics House Masterclass. Thank you.
We're still a minute early. Are we ready online? Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I heard the workshop went very, very well, so thank you for participating in that. We're stealing all of your ideas, of course. And today, there's been something that's been on my mind recently as it's related to teaching. And all three of us teach the foundation courses, and we have different styles in that teaching. And we've all noticed this, not noticed, but part of our lineage, part of the foundation of this path is the thing called teacher, this idea called the teacher, or a teacher, or your teacher, or my teacher, right? And there's a lot of emphasis on this idea for lots of good reasons. And many of you are aware of them, and maybe many of you are not aware of it. And we've also noticed that there's sometimes obsessions that happen, or worries or anxieties. I don't know who my teacher is yet. Oh my God, I need to have somebody. Oh, in Foundation Course 7, to take the Bodhisattva vows, I have to know who my Diamond Way master is going to be, because it's one of the questions in the homework, where it's recommended to take the Bodhisattva vows with your Diamond Way teacher. But it's only 7. It's only Course 7 of 15. So what we're going to discuss today is the teacher. Who is the teacher? What are the roles of the teacher? What are some of the pitfalls of having a teacher? The ways we get in trouble. The ways we find success. And so I'm going to start with a question for Gyelse. Uh-oh. So, Gyelse, when you first heard about this idea of having a teacher, what came to mind? What was this? What ideas did you have about that? And then over time, how did that change?
I think that the first question was, what does that mean to have a teacher, right? I mean, I had teachers in school, I had piano teacher, dance teacher, but to have the teacher, a teacher with a capital T, it's like, what does that mean? And I think it's still something I'm exploring, what it means to have someone that you consider the most important teacher in your life. Right? It can be your parents, your partner, and so at the very beginning, it was just like, I don't know what that means. I don't know who it is. How do I find a teacher? Now we talk about making teachers, but at that time we talked about finding a teacher. Like, do I go to Vajrapani, and do I go to San Francisco, and do I go here, do I go there? How do I find this teacher? Without even knowing what they were, or what I needed them to be for me. And so that's been a 40-year exploration, which is still continuing, of what it means to have a teacher and to relate to a teacher.
I like how she left it open so I can ask follow-up questions later. We still have an hour. By the way, is this an hour and 15-minute class? An hour, okay. Can you give a little wave when we're about 45 minutes? Thank you. So, Aldo, I'll come over to you now. You know, in the last course that we had on Door to the Diamond Way in Mexico, we had a whole class, 2 classes on how to explore your own, how to find that person, right? And I think that the teaching that we got was very unique. And you were translating, so that's why I'm asking you specifically. Like, what did you take away from that about finding the teacher? Because Gyelse just said something like, find or make or find. You know, what did you take away from that class?
Yes, great question, Tim. Well, I think at the end, your teacher is like your special angel that will guide you along the way in your spiritual path. And in that beautiful class, Geshe listed like some options, right? And I think it's also, I love when he says it's like your own teacher is tailor-made for you. It's like the pants that are gonna fit you. So he gave us various options, like obviously your mommy, your daddy, teachers from school, and at the end I love when he said, I asked my teacher, like, who's your heart teacher? Because then you have teachers, and then they talk about the heart teacher, or like your main teacher, or like your root teacher. And he said it so simply, like the person that has helped you the most to be like a better person, the person that has helped you the most to open your heart. And I think that's beautiful. And I think that when you're in the process of doing that, they will come to you. Definitely. And maybe maybe you're gonna have like this moment, oh, it's been my dad, oh, it's been my mom, oh, it's Tim. But I must say that when you're true with that intention and that path, they will come to you. And then it's a beautiful, humbling experience, and the faith in them, it's a very powerful component.
So there's a little bit of a contradiction in what you said, and I was hoping you were going to do that. One of you was. So in that class, we talked about the Sawe Lama, the root Lama, right? Which sometimes gets treated as root Lama, sometimes translated as root Lama. Sometimes it gets translated as heart Lama, right? And the definition that Geshe Michael's teacher gave was the person who has changed your heart the most, the one who has changed you the most. No, actually I wasn't even paying attention to that, but that was kind of cool too. If you don't have a teacher yet, how can you say, I'm going to find my teacher, the person who has changed me the most? Like there's something like weird in the language, right? The person who has changed me the most, but I don't have a teacher yet. Gyelse, how do you think about this? Like, because it seems to be like a retroactive definition. Like, only after you have changed can they be called the teacher. You know, this is kind of a weird Nagarjuna question, right? So I'm curious, like how do you think about that?
I think about it as rewriting my history.
Was that like a mic drop moment? No, but can you say more about that?
So when we're in the moment, or at least when I'm in the moment of doing something, I have very little perspective about what's happening. It's after the fact that I can look back. Like I was just speaking with somebody who I've known for many years and saying how I really see the work that they have done over the years and how they have changed. But while it was happening, there wasn't that kind of perspective. And I think it's the same is true for being able to reflect back and think about those who have helped us in all sorts of ways. In all sorts of ways, those who have helped us. And then we begin to kind of sort it out, you know. Is there really just one who has helped me to open my heart the most? And I think that's also something that Geshe Michael touched on, that there doesn't have to be just a teacher. We have so many who have helped us on the path.
So again, like I like this, looking back, we can say, oh, wow, that person really helped me. Wow, that irritating fill in the blank word, adjective, that person really taught me something. Wow, that ex-partner, wow, I really grew in that relationship. But Aldo, I heard one day that serving your teacher is one of the most powerful seeds you can plant, right? But if your heart hasn't changed yet, what do you do? You see? Like, see what I'm asking? Okay.
Yeah, we were having lunch, and this question came up, like, what's the better way to serve your teacher? Like, do their laundry, cook for them, or serve others and like do your practice, open more your heart, and think, well, what should you do? That's a big question, huh? Both, but maybe I can't do both. But I think at the end of the day, if you're truly honest and you're sincerely trying to practice to be a better human being, to help others, everything will come to alignment, alignment, and enlightenment. And I think at the end of the day, you can say that the highest offering you can do to your teacher, if he's like an authentic teacher, it's to serve others and be a more successful, happy person. And I think if you're trying, you haven't found your teacher yet, but you have a sincere practice, they will come to you. And you can say you are serving them already, and you don't even know them. So they'll come for you, and they'll get you, and they'll teach you.
Well, I was gonna be like, damn, no one's answering my question. No, but I like this suggestion here. Well, what if I don't have that teacher yet, or someone, I haven't changed yet, but I'm feeling called. So Aldo is suggesting just serving others. So Gyelse, let's say someone here does not yet have their teacher, and she was even suggesting the question of one or many, which we're going to get to in a second. How does service to others plant the seeds for a teacher, and what can we have in our minds while we're doing this to maybe facilitate that process? Because is it just serving others like, oh, I'm just going to go help somebody? Or are there other things we can do in that, even mentally, to supercharge that seed? If Aldo's correct in saying that serving others will create the teacher.
There's always the intention that's behind it. What is my intention of serving others? Maybe my intention is just I want to find a teacher. And so I'm going to serve others. If you have a stronger intention of I am going to serve others because they're all suffering as much as I am, so if I serve them, I can plant the seeds to be able to bring them out of suffering. And to do that, I need a teacher to help me. That's what I want, I need. So it's different levels of intention. And as we talk about, bodhisattva actions and how we can fill them up, with our intention, not just to take care of ourselves, but to include all beings in who we're taking care of. So, you could be washing the dishes, and you're doing it to clean away the suffering of all beings. Simple little things. And that begins to plant the seeds for your world to become different and magical, and to have many teachers show up in your life. That's what I would say. I did say.
I want to go back a little bit on this. Why a teacher? Why can't I just do it by myself? Like, I don't know if anybody of you know me very well, but I'm a little stubborn. And just, Tracy, shh. and I have a bit of, maybe I'll call it a pride, that I like to do things by myself. Like, I like to figure out things by myself. I don't want people to tell me how to do it. I want to figure it out myself. And I feel like I can. Like, I can do that. Right? And that's, we can get into childhood trauma if you want. At least one person laughed, thank you. But, there's an element of, I want to figure this out. I want to do this. I want to be able to do this. I don't want someone who tells me what to do. Like, I had parents already. I love them. Hi, Mom. She still tells me what to do. I still don't do my laundry right. My shirt is white, as long as it's not red, right? Or pink. I'm doing my laundry, and I don't think I smell, right? I don't know. But she's been waiting the whole time. But really, I think this is a really important question. Like, I want to do it. I want to figure it out. And I don't want someone telling me what to do.
I don't know anybody like that.
I was talking about me. So Aldo, like, what? And so first of all, like, most of us probably understand that we've been guided our entire life. We didn't know how to clean ourselves after going to the bathroom until someone taught us. We didn't know how to cook food. We didn't know how to put on clothing ourselves. We learned how to do all of those things. Somebody taught us. So how would you think about, like, how do you think about this? Like, this balance between I want to do it, me, right? And then someone else guiding me how to do it. How do you think about that?
Yeah, it's quite a balance. I think it's good to have this self-sufficient attitude in life, but at the same time it's good to be humble and know that someone else knows better than you and can guide you. And I think in life we know if we want to learn something good, we need a teacher. If you want to learn to play the piano good, go with someone that has mastered the piano. And I think it's the same in your spiritual life. It's like if you want to go to the summit of the Everest, maybe it will be a good idea to ask someone that did it already. No? So I think we need a teacher that has mastered his mind and his heart, and they can give you very good practical advices for you. So I think it's very wise to look for a teacher. And as you all know, in the Buddhist path, like, the teacher is like the teacher. The Lam Rim, the source of all my good, first sentence, bless me to understand that my holy teacher is the root of the path. And then if you think about it deeper, it's like, where is your teacher coming from? It's like, it's your goodness manifested in someone outside, training you and guiding you. So I think we all need teachers. And as Tim said, if you look back, maybe you can say, oh, I'm self-sufficient and I can learn how to do everything. But then if you think about it, like Nila, so she sees you. Maybe you thought you learned it yourself, but we started learning by observing. You observed your parents, and oh, they do this. Now I'm gonna do this. So you've always been guided in a way. So why not keep being guided, like, to a higher state? Because you can think you've done it by yourself, but you were born being guided. I see it with my baby every day. And it's a beautiful process. And then it also, as I said, you learn to be humble and to surrender and to have faith and to be guided in life.
He successfully avoided the question. Gyelse, and it was very beautiful, the answer. I want to talk, where I wanted to kind of go with this is that, there's this tension that oftentimes comes up between a student and a teacher of guidance and maybe self-sufficiency, or I know better, or stubbornness, or something like that. I'm wondering, I'm not talking about your experience as a student, but more that, what is that kind of tension that can arise, like with that relationship with a teacher. There is resistance, not always, but at least I experience resistance. How does that manifest, and how do you navigate it as a student? Both normally and then maybe karmically too.
I'm one of those people who are like, I can do it myself. And that I don't need anybody else's help. It manifests a lot of times. Once I confirmed my teacher, they didn't tell me what to do. They basically said, you already know what to do, just do it. And that's like, I do? So there was a different tension there. Because my teacher didn't tell me what to do. And I, in a way, really wanted them to tell me what to do. Because that's why I was there. Because I'd already tried a lot of stuff and wasn't happy with the outcome. And didn't know what to do next, right? And at the same time, when they do tell you what to do, yes, there can be some resistance there. It's like, why do they want me to do that? Or why did they take that away from me that I was doing?
Well, that's my favorite thing. When they give the job to you and then 2 weeks later give the job to somebody else. Sorry.
But the thing is that I always have to remember is they can see me better than I can see myself. And that was probably one of the biggest things in my 3-year retreat was exploring what surrender meant. Surrendering to the moment, surrendering to the teacher. And I guess in a way, I came to the point where surrendering to the teacher was surrendering to love. However they manifested. And I have the great fortune to feel like my teacher manifests love constantly. Now, if they told me to go jump off a cliff, I don't know that I would do that. Is that what they want me to do? Right? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I have to discover that, though. And I have to look for the teacher in my own heart to discover that. So the tension, for me, has helped me to grow. And to become a kinder person, I hope, at least. Some of these people have known me for 30 years, and hopefully I've become a kinder person. Jigme's not sure about it. That friction it creates heat, it creates energy that I can use on the path to go one step further, because it forces me to question. So I don't know if that answered your question either.
Tim, can we turn the tables a bit and ask you a question?
In a second, yes. Hold on to that thought, but I want to keep exploring this because I think this is important for a lot of people who are in search of a teacher or have a relationship with a teacher. Is this tension between wanting them to tell you what to do. I was having a conversation with someone just before this. I said, please tell me what to do, right? And then Gyelse beautifully said, they don't tell you what to do. You already know what to do. And they're like, no, but I'm asking you what to do because I don't, I need help, right? You know, and I've had people come to me to say, tell me what to do now. And I'm like, I taught all 15 courses. Go back to all of them. I told you everything to do. My teacher told me what to do. I remember one day asking a question, and he was like, yeah, back in 2016, during that long run at Diamond Mountain on this day, I taught you how to do that. I was like, really? But there's this, first of all, everybody needs something different. So the reason there's 3 of us here is because I think in some ways, one of our teachers, I have many, one of our teachers is the same. And I've watched that teacher with individually different students, and they're a different teacher to different students. Some students get meetings all the time. Some students get meetings, but then everyone else is present, and you don't get to say anything in your meeting while they're talking to other people. Nina knows this one. Sometimes people get private hiking walks with that teacher, right? They get what they need, right? So okay, Aldo, here's the question. How do you navigate when your teacher doesn't give you what you want, but you see them giving someone else what you wanted, but they're not giving it to you? And what's the teaching in that?
Well, yeah, I think what you have to work when you see like that kind of ripening, it's like jealousy. Why I'm not getting what I want, but that will be like the affliction, like to feel jealous. But I think to work with your jealousy and in a deeper way, maybe you should give others what they want. Maybe you should find someone around you, close to you, that's expecting something from you or needing something from you, and it's like you're like blindsided from that spot. And maybe your practice is to look that way and intervene, give them what they want, and then maybe they will listen to you in the next meeting. They will let you speak in the next meeting, maybe. I think so. And then like great teachers teach you in very subtle ways sometimes, and in not like directly the direct instruction with words. And I think you have to be like very you have to have like deeper insights and reflect deeply about what are they really teaching you, and how that teaching will really help you.
I want to add too that a teacher's job is not generally to make you comfortable. Their job is to get you to grow and to open your heart. Right? And that can be really uncomfortable sometimes. Right? We don't get our way. Our teacher doesn't say, oh, you're so good, giving us, or recognizing you for something. They recognize someone else for something that you did. Right? This goes on all the time. Why? To watch your own mind. Because that's what's catching us up all the time. And it catches us up with our teacher. They're not our mom and dad who pat us on the head, and saying, oh, you're such a good person. Their job, in fact, is to really make us a good person.
And I want to take it back a bit because I want to hear this answer, and maybe many of you, because Tim is working very hard, very close to Geshe. He actually moved like physically very close. He's doing a lot of projects. He's managing ACI. He's very close. So I would like to ask you, Tim, like going back a bit, I think it's going to help us a lot. How do you navigate the tensions of being like very close to your teacher and doing a lot of projects with them, even like the physical proximity to them? So I would like to hear your insights about it.
I think I always look the best I can. I get upset, inflicted a lot, but anyway. But I'm always looking for what relationships do I want, and how do I want them to be? Working in proximity with anybody closely is going to fire things up. Anyone who's, even you have your best friend, your partner, right? Those people who are the closest to us are going to, ignite the fire, all different kinds of fires, right? And I've always looked at those relationships because it's not just a teacher, it's many teachers for me. I have very sweet relationships with my teachers, and they're different, like each one is different. Because at the end of the day, I feel like the relationship should be sweet. It should be enjoyable. It doesn't mean that it's not difficult, because I think if you have that view that you're offering, right, what are they really saying? Changne, right? Like, what did they really mean by that? Someone said to me, 4 years ago in ACI 3, you said this. And I'm like, okay. And they said, you're not doing that now. And I'm like, I was like, I don't know. I have no idea what was in my head six years ago. But what I said then was probably relevant for then, but now today is different. And I was kind of partially pretending I didn't know what I had said, to be like, why are we focusing on 6 years ago? But also, I'm thinking, I'm creating that tension. Are things this way or are things that way? The only way things are this way. Whether you have a sweet relationship or whether you have a contentious relationship, it's not the teacher's problem. But we make it the teacher's problem. Because why? Because we misunderstand nang tong. Yeah, look, I get to connect things together, right? We think that they're coming this way. We think they're acting that way independent of us. The very first Lam Rim gift deliberation class back in 2010, November 2010, 2 months before many of you here went into 3-year retreat, Geshe decided to teach the meditation chapter. Probably, why does it keep doing that during my class? It's like, shut up. It's like the third time. He taught he probably taught the meditation chapter to prepare the 3-year retreatants, the pre-3-year retreatants to go into 3-year retreat to be able to meditate, right? Just to remind them what they were doing. Show up at this Mesa Church. Show up, and this is back in the day when we actually put cushions in the front of the room, right? And people would arrive early to put their cushion in the front. It's like Thanksgiving, it's like Black Friday every day in the Dharma Black Friday. People come in, they drop their cushion down so they can be up front first. You should have seen the tension in the room. And people would be pissed off, like, oh my God, I didn't get the front seat, that person did. I gotta get here earlier. I show up, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. I thought this was like a lovey-dovey Dharma group, and they're like fighting where they're sitting, I put my cushion in the back, in front of there's like 5 rows of cushions. And then I went off to help Anjali. We were doing homeworks in the back. That was back in the day when we printed everything and we stapled everything, and it was incredibly last minute. You guys, ACI, you have no idea. I am so nice to you compared to what we had to do back in the day. And I think it was even worse before. Yes, we got a couple minutes, right? We got 5 minutes. So I'm back helping Anjali. The teacher shows up, sits down. I walk to the front to sit on my cushion, and then my cushion's not there. I'm like, well, where's my cushion? Right? And I'm looking around for my cushion. Someone had moved my cushion under the table on the side. They had moved everything over. I don't know, this is halfway through and I lost it. I was like, what is wrong with you people? I was like, don't you understand how to get close to a teacher? Like, you're moving my cushion out of the way so you can be close? Of course, I was mad that I wasn't close. Get that part, right? But I was really like, it was that moment where I was like, okay, and then it just, something weird went off, some Bakchak Sepa went off, and I was like, oh my God, they're all teaching me something. These Dharma idiots, right, are teaching me something, and they're teaching me how to actually get close to the teacher. And that was my first 4-step project. Because I said, maybe a little bit of pride in it, but also a little bit of experimentation. How can if I can get close, how am I going to do it? And first of all, do I want to? But secondly, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it the right way. I'm not going to push people out of the way. I'm not going to move their cushions. I'm going to gladly move my cushion out of the way. If you want to sit there, okay, fine, I'll go sit over there. And that's how I started, right? And that's how I continue to operate. And most people don't know that that's what I'm doing all the time. That's what I think my role is to get all of you close. That's what I do. It doesn't matter like how it turns out. Like if the table falls over, the lights aren't right, or the tables don't match. These are my kitchen chairs, by the way. This is the chair that I sit in when I, teach. It's the butt crack at dawn, 6 a.m., right? But that's what I do, right? And that's what to answer your question, that's what created those sweet relationships I have with my teachers. Is that anyone who wants to go, I'm like, okay, fine. You want to come to my meeting and talk the whole time? Okay, fine. And I'll sit there and I'll never get a word in. And Geshe's like, oh, you're so patient. And I'm like, you have no idea what's going on inside. Actually, you know what's going on inside. He knows what's going on inside. But I'm like, joyful, perfection of patience, sharing, like all of those things, right? Because that's what I see, like to get close is get other people close, is to open that door for them. And then you have to sit in the fire. You're just, everything that you thought that you had under control is not under control. You thought this is second flavor of emptiness. Can you raise your left hand? Everyone raise your left hand. There will be a day where you won't be able to. Okay. And you think you have control of your hand? Like, you don't have control of your emotions. You don't have control of the thoughts that run through there. I mean, Aldo know what goes on in my mind from time to time. He's like, Tim, relax. It'll be okay. You don't have to get so upset about this. I'm like, we have to do this right. I was so upset at our Vajrayogini empowerment. He was like, Tim, you know what's happening, right? I'm like, I know what's going on. But that's what happens, right? But those are the, getting close. If you want a close relationship, you have to create close relationships for others. It's not hard, logically. But when someone moves your cushion out of the way, or steps on your toes, or the teacher puts someone else in front of you for something that you wanted, right? And then if you're the one who is put in front of somebody else, don't forget that other person. Like, recognize that maybe they're creating tension on purpose, ACI staff. Maybe the projects being put together are designed to create fire so that you can learn how to create beauty and kindness. Right? So we have 16 minutes. And we thought it'd be nice that you can ask your questions. Like, what do you want to know about the relationship with a teacher, that teacher, your teacher, the person you may have already or you may not have yet and you would like to have? Please, Lucia.
Thank you very much. It's very
No, you're good.
it's very nice to hear you from the practice. What you can
Could you stand up?
Okay. What you can tell us about when you are a foreign people and you are not close to your teacher? How can you build a strong, deep relationship when you are in a foreign country?
You're in a foreign country. I'm in Rimrock.
I think in a deeper way, if you are walking the path they taught you, you're very close to them. More than you can even acknowledge, because maybe you have like this, like the physical nostalgia, nostalgia, yeah, of not being like close to them physically, but you are close to them because you are walking the path they taught you. And as I think as Venerable Gyelse beautiful said, it's like connected to that love. If you're really practicing a higher love, you can say you're embodying them, because that's what they're teaching you. And I think the more you do it, even your seeds will ripen to be even closer to them physically as well. I think so. But to practice what they taught you, if you can really practice what they teach you, you're going to be very close to them.
You know, I lived on the other side of the United States. It's a 5-hour flight from Phoenix. You know, and what he said is, for me, it was that, like, I knew what I wanted, and I knew what I needed. Even in my pride and arrogance and self-sufficiency, deep inside, I knew that I needed guidance. And so I pridefully humbled myself just a little bit, and and I planted the seeds. And so then each step of the way, it's a rejoicing. And every time I saw somebody closer, it was, yes. You know, the person who's been around the longest that I know is Venerable Jigme. And I always asked her those questions. How do you not lose those seeds? If you want to learn how to do that, talk to her. She taught me, because I was afraid. I was afraid of losing those seeds. And I still have that fear that something will shift and all of a sudden I'll just, tornado away, right?
We're also, at this point, talking about the Lama out there. Where does the Lama come from? From your heart. Right? Lama is always there for you to be close to. At least that's my experience. No matter how far or close I am physically. Sometimes you can be close physically and feel really far away, right? And we know that with friends as well and communities. So again, it comes back to the seeds that we've planted in our heart by serving others.
Questions?
Any more questions?
Nancy.
This is not actually a personal question. I want to just circle all the way back to the beginning of your amazing talk, because you covered relationship with the Lama, finding the Lama, staying close to the Lama. Like, this is huge, right? But going back to finding, like, if we don't know who our teacher is, and you talked about different practices that you could practice, whether you're washing your dishes or whatever. But I want to ask, did any of you do a specific practice in order to find your teacher?
I can say that when I met Geshe Michael, he wasn't my teacher. And I'd been looking for a teacher. And I went to him and I asked him what to do to find a teacher. And he told me what to do, and I did it. And it was to focus on very certain verses in a sadhana and focus on those. And then my teacher was there. So I can say for me, I did get that. I asked the question and I did get an answer, and I did do what I was told to do, right? Wasn't like, because I knew I didn't know how. And I'd been seeing somebody else just as my facsimile teacher, the one who was, well, yeah, I could think of them as my teacher, but they weren't really my close heart teacher. And so that's my answer. I did do something very specific. And but Geshe wasn't my teacher at the time. He was, in fact, the first teacher I ever asked an important question of. Because I was really shy and felt like, I might be asking the wrong question, right? I had all this judgment. So So ask your questions of others. Try it out. And do what they say. And you're the experiment. You're your own experiment. And see what happens. That's my only answer.
You know we're going to ask you, Gyelse.
I'm not saying.
Now don't do see me on Semet Lama Dark okay, no?
Nope.
No. Darn. Okay. All right.
I didn't have that yet.
So do you want to say? Okay. I think with all of for myself, and by the way, Nancy's also in the category of someone who's been around for a long time and has kept her teacher. So she's another great example. And both Jigme and Nancy are on the ACI board. So if you would like to, thank you for your service, first of all. They're great resources. They know a lot. And I think Nancy's being a little Subhuti in here, being like, what is the little practice that for me it was very much as I had this independent perfectionist self-sufficiency streak. I still have that, of course. I've always admired teachers. I always had this seed of wanting to learn from others. Like when I see someone that I oh, you know something that I don't know, I'm obsessively curious. And I will ask questions. I will keep being like, hey, teach me what you know, teach me what you know. Oh, and then I'll go home and I'll study and I'm studying Ayurveda now. I bought all these textbooks because I'm now I'm obsessed, right? And I had met someone and I'm like, oh, I need to learn this. And so I was always putting myself at the feet of teachers, not in that devotional bow down in that kind of way. In my mind, yes, but even work. Some of my greatest teachers were my bosses. How are you doing? I'm always asking the question, how are you doing that? Why are you doing that? How are you thinking like that? Because I really have no clue how you made that decision or why that worked. It's very easy to see why something doesn't work. But focusing on what does work, then you start attracting, even when, let me just rephrase all of that. When you focus on the goodness in other people and the cool things that they do, what cool things does Kat do? I learned a lot about Kat. One of my friends was I have this project. And I was like, oh, she should talk to Kat about this. And the two of them are they share a mission, right? But, listening to how they're helping each other, they're focusing on the cool things that they can learn from each other. And that's what I do personally, Nancy, is when I meet someone, I'm like, oh, you know something that I don't know. Every single person in the universe knows something that you don't know. I mean, if you are who you seem like you are, you little suspicious people, right? But that's what I do, is I'm always looking, well, this person, even if I'm fighting you, and I'm sorry for those of you that I fought, or I get irritated with, or I'm about, there's still a part of me that's I know that you know something that I don't know. And even if my innards are that's just afflictions. But after I get over the affliction, I'm usually okay, this person knows something I don't. And I think that plants seeds for teachers.
Yes, in my case, when I met my teacher, I didn't know I needed a teacher, but in a way I was yearning for a higher truth. I was yearning for a authentic spiritual path, connected to be a more compassionate, more kind being. And I think in a way that's like a very powerful seed. And that's doing something. So I think if you, then when you come to see your teacher as your special angel, I think when you're working with that energy, with those seeds, you will find them, they will find you, however it works. And so I think, but I wasn't consciously like, oh, I'm planting the seeds to find my teacher because I need a teacher. No, but it was like more subtle and deeper in a way, but I was doing like that work, and then I realized, oh, I need a teacher. He's my teacher. Oh, wow. Please be my teacher. Yeah.
We have time for one. Oh, you more?
I was just going to say, I didn't even know about seeds when I was looking for a teacher, so.
Me too.
By the way, like if you have the faith and you ask someone, how do you find a teacher? And you do what they suggest, it might just work for you. You have to think about that. One more question. Yes, George.
Hi, my question is about relationship with a teacher versus your relationship with your close friends. For example, you have very close friends from university, or you have a buddy grow up together. They happen to become a scientist or engineer later on. They really want something to be proved. However, we spend a lot of time, like you three, spend many years following the greatest teacher in the world. But to them, that's something hard to understand. My question is, how you deal with this situation? Do you drop off your previous circle of friends, or you trying to use the power of a system to help them? But in the case, it doesn't work. Do you still keep this relationship as a friend? Or sometimes even that's a family members. I'm just curious how your teacher handled this relationship. Thank you.
I can say I have I have a similar challenge, especially with my family, for example. Like, they don't seem to understand. But I have a weird seed that, like, you could just type my name into Google and then you'll just see videos, like, I don't know, people put, like, from the ACI classes, right? They're just there. And, like, they're like, what do you do, Tim? And I'm like, what? You use the internet, right? I know they do. But it's this interesting seed that they don't seem to look, right? But the way that I navigate that is, that's my little child Tim being like, why don't you recognize me? You're not validating my experience. I'm still your kid, right? But when I'm in my good mood, I'm taking care of them, like where they seem to be appearing to be, right? So I don't push my ideas onto them. We had a whole thing about being vegetarian for a long time, and my mom was like, she was so upset about the whole thing, but I realized she wasn't upset about it, she just didn't know how to navigate it. She's like, are you getting enough protein? I'm like, yes, I am, I'm fine, right? But eventually I realized with my mom that I wanted her to be comfortable. I wanted her to be relaxed. I wanted her to feel like she was still being a mom to me, right? And being that moms are karmically high objects, right? I made certain decisions when I go home about my diet, right? Because I don't want to stress her out. Like, it seems worse to stress her out than to educate her on being a vegetarian, right? And so I'm like, okay, fine, I'll just have mom's meals, and they're delicious, right? And I dedicate it in a very different way, and I have a different thought about it. But I'm taking care of her, in her mind, right? So I can be a Buddhist and be a Christian with my mom, no problem, right? And I think it's kinder, right? And it's interesting that my parents have changed because guess who has changed? You know, my mom told me she loved me for the first time on the phone. Used the words. I know she loves me, right? But she used the words. I was like, I love you too. That's so beautiful. No, but so for me, it was a big thing, right? But to have that, to see that change, how did I change that? I started telling people that I cared about them. I started saying, hey, you know, Aldo, you're really awesome. You know, got used to saying, I love you to my friends. Right? And then all of a sudden my mom said it. I was like, okay, seeds work. Because I know, you see, like, I would always go out from a seed point of view. Like, don't disturb other people's minds. Right? Because there's someone to take care of as well. Cool. So, thank you all for joining. That was the Classics House presentation of finding a teacher. We have the Samadhi House coming up in a half an hour with, who's teaching those classes? Alex Roland. Where's Alex? Alex is here in the front, and JB is over here as well. It's going to be a beautiful class. So take a 26-minute break. Thank you for joining us. And again, there are teachers all around this room, many certified teachers and many almost certified teachers and secret teachers as well. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them your personal questions. That's why they're here. That's why teachers are here, to help you. So enjoy your break. Thank you, ACI Tech Team. Thank you, online tech. Thank you, online interpreters as well. Okay, we'll have a break and we'll see you. And I guess we have some announcements, so it's not for me.
Thank you, dear teachers, first of all. You open our hearts more and more each time. Thank you for reminding us again and again about the seeds. That was beautiful. Thank you very much. And see you all in 25 minutes.